Now we're going to take a look at writing an equation in point-slope form. So rather than being given the equation and having to pull out the pieces to graph the line, we're going to be given the pieces and we're going to have to put them together to put them into point-slope form. So let's say I was given the slope of the line is -4 and the line goes through the point 4, 5. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize, okay, my slope is -4, so I know that's going to go where m is. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to label my ordered pair x1, y1. This seems like kind of a silly thing to do, but we know that ordered pairs are always written x first and then y. We're used to seeing x before y, but in our equation, y comes first, and sometimes that can trip people up. So just to make sure I don't make any silly mistakes, I'm always going to label my ordered pair x1 and y1. So that now all I have to do is look for the piece in the equation and substitute in the part that I've labeled. So I'm going to have y minus, my y1 value is 5, so I'll have y minus 5 equals, my m is -4, and then I'll have x minus my x1 value, which is 4. So if I wanted to write the equation of a line that has a slope of -4 and goes through the point 4, 5, this would be that equation in point-slope form. That was pretty simple. All I had to do was substitute in the pieces that I knew. Let's try another one. So if I had a slope of 2 and I had the ordered pair 7, -3. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to label this x1 and y1, and now I'm going to plug in the pieces that I know. So I'm going to have y minus my y1 value, which is -3. So I have y minus -3 equals 2 times x minus 7. So now I'm going to take a look at the equation that I've written. We don't ever want to write anything as minus a negative. Instead of minus a negative, I could write a plus sign. So I'm going to rewrite this as y plus 3 equals 2 times x minus 7. And if you remember, when we're given the equation in point-slope form and we were identifying the ordered pair, we always took the opposite of what we saw. So I can double check to make sure that my equation is right by asking myself, okay, what's the opposite of -7? Well, that's +7, so my x value should be +7. And it is. What's the opposite of +3? -3, and that's what my y value is. So I'm good. Let's try one that's a little harder. Let's say instead of being given the slope and an ordered pair, you were given 2 ordered pairs. So maybe we had the point 1, 2, and 3, 5. We want to do the same thing. We want to have a slope and a point and plug that information in. But they didn't give us a point. Well, they gave us 2 points. And they didn't give us the slope, but we know that we can find slope given any 2 points. So we're going to need our slope formula. And I'm going to plug my pieces into that slope formula so that I can find the slope of this line. So I'll have 5 minus 2 over 3 minus 1, which is going to give me 3 over 2. So the slope of this line is 3 over 2. The next thing I'm going to do is pick one of these 2 points. For right now, I'm going to pick this one. It doesn't matter which point you select, just pick one of the 2 points. So now I have an m and I have an x1 and a y1. So I'm going to plug that information into my equation. I'll have y minus 2 equals 3/2 times x minus 1. And that would be my equation. You could have selected this point and plug those numbers into your equation. If you did, you would have come up with the equation y minus 5 equals 3/2 x minus 3. So either one of these equations would be correct. It's just up to you which point you select. You do not have to always write two equations. I'm just showing you that you could have written this or this. Either one would be considered correct. Let's say you were given a graph and you needed to write the equation of this line in point-slope form. This is very similar to the last problem we did where we were given 2 points and we were not given a slope. Our first step is still to find the slope. Then we're going to select one of the 2 points and plug that information into our point-slope form. So because we're given a graph and the points are labeled, you could find the slope using our slope formula, which again, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or you could count rise over run. I think I'm going to count rise over run for now, but you can always do this. So my rise is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. I went up 4, so that's a positive 4. Then my run is going to be 1, 2, 3, and that is a positive 3. So the slope of this line is 4 over 3. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of my 2 points. Right now I'm going to pick this point, 5, 4. So let me go back to this board. I now know that my slope of my line is 4 over 3, and the point that I've chosen is 5, 4. So now I'm just going to label this x1 and y1, and I'm going to plug that information into my point-slope form. So I'll have y minus 4 equals 4/3 x minus 5. And that's my equation. Now what if you had picked the other point? What if we had picked the point 2, 0? What would our equation look like? Let's take a look. So now I still have a slope of 4/3 because it's the same line as before, but I'm working with the point 2, 0. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, and I would have y minus 0 equals 4/3 x minus 2. This is correct. However, I don't really want to leave this y minus 0 because I know that anything minus 0 is just itself. I'm not changing y, I'm not adding to it, I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm literally taking away nothing by subtracting 0. So I'm going to rewrite this as y equals 4/3 x minus 2. And that would be what your equation looks like if you had selected the point 2, 0.